In the bright world of glitz and glamour, Porsha Williams appeared to have it all at once. Her life was an extravagant, lavish show of wealth and extravagance. However, as fate would have it, she started to see ominous clouds hanging over her idyllic life. Her world fell apart when Simon Guobadia, the guy she had trusted with her heart, was revealed to be a cunning manipulator. Hello everyone, and welcome back to Rumor Spill. Rumors of Simon's treachery were running rampant through the streets, giving the impression that he was not the charming prince Porsha thought he was. She was overcome with emotions as she struggled to accept the painful truth that her Nigerian sweetheart was only a crafty robber hiding behind a mask of deceit. Porsha, who had thought she had complete control over her life, now understands how drastically overestimated the reach of the law is. The shadow of the government was always present, threatening to take away both their joint assets and her most valued possessions, especially the ones that Simon had gifted her. She was left reeling from the shock of this discovery, fearing the worst, that she would lose all she treasured. Many people were perplexed as to how Porsha got herself involved in such a complex web of deceit and intrigue given the story of Simon Guobadia. Her desperate desire to be with a wealthy man seems to have blinded her to the obvious warning signs. Porsha's hopes were dashed when Simon, who had presented himself as a multimillionaire, was revealed to be a liar. Porsha's main motivation had always been her desire for an opulent lifestyle. Her past connection with Dennis McKinley demonstrated her willingness to find a wealthier companion. On season 11 of The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Porsha was clearly desperate for a proposal. She did everything she could to hide who she really was because she thought Dennis would be turned off by her strange ways. Both other cast members and viewers were able to see through Porsha's mask. On social media, a large number of her followers repeated Kandi Burrugh's suggestion to let things unfold organically. Porsha tried to look cool, but it was obvious that she was dying for a ring. She was quite vocal about wanting Dennis to propose, but Kandi called her out for being too eager. Many people found it absurd that a woman should have to persuade her boyfriend to marry her. Porsha was obviously desperate, and some took issue with her assertion that she was blissfully ignorant about marriage. She gave off the impression that she would ignore any warning signs in order to get married. Porsha tried, but her relationship with Dennis was doomed from the beginning. Their unequal levels of commitment to each other were like a ticking time bomb. Their romance came to an end when Dennis betrayed her, and Porsha swiftly moved on to her next lover, Simon Guobadia. Porsha seems unafraid to cross lines in her pursuit of the desired status of wife. She even went so far as to follow her friend's partner around covertly. It's crucial to remember that Simon was previously married to Porsha's co-star on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, Fallon Guobadia. After Fallon and Simon's marriage ended in April 2021, Simon proposed to Porsha less than a month later. Though it was obvious that the couple's relationship had started long before Simon and Fallon's divorce was officially finalized, the couple made a concerted effort to convince the world that they had discovered true love. A woman by the name of Jessica Harris came forward and said she had been seeing Simon since March 2021, which increased the mystery. She was taken aback to discover their engagement via the media, since she had assumed Simon would make the announcement to Porsha following his divorce. Many questioned how Porsha could have overlooked the obvious warning flags, considering the picture of a habitual cheater that Simon's confessions created. Some claimed that Porsha just painted the warning signs green out of innocence rather than ignoring them. She didn't realize her prince was actually an experienced con artist because she was so focused on finding a Nigerian prince. Simon's past started to come to light, revealing a man who had a track record of lying. It was discovered that he had overstayed his welcome when he arrived in the country in 1982 on a visitor's visa. He engaged in dishonest and unlawful behavior throughout his attempts to get citizenship through marriage and other channels. Simon's life was a maze of legal issues, ranging from unapproved car usage to bank and credit fraud. Simon's deviousness knew no limits, yet his expulsion in 1992 appeared to be a turning point in his life. He was able to enter the country again and carry on with his fraudulent activities. He even made an attempt to become a naturalized citizen by adopting a fictitious identity and hiding important details about his criminal history. After Simon was eventually apprehended by the police, his requests for naturalization were turned down. He tried to contest the rulings, but the court didn't think his arguments were strong enough. Simon was in danger of being deported once more as a result of his shady activities finally coming to light. However, Simon's questionable behavior extended beyond immigration fraud. He was also charged with paying a large sum of past taxes to the IRS and employing a phony PR business to boost his net worth. His business dealings were obscured by rumors of repeated bankruptcies and financial mismanagement. Picking up the shards of her broken hopes, Porsha watched Simon's empire come apart. According to reports, she was finding it difficult to deal with the fact that Simon's inquiry was about to begin and that their assets would be lost.
Porsha tried to keep up a front of normalcy, but those who knew her knew she was close to losing it. Simon, though, didn't seem to be fazed by the confusion around him. Even when storm clouds began to gather over his and Porsha's once glamorous lives, he resorted to social media to reassure his followers that everything was fine. Porsha Williams and Simon Guobadia's story served as a sobering lesson in love, deceit, and the terrible cost of pursuing status and fortune.
Porsha Williams found herself in the middle of a seemingly never-ending storm as the drama played out. Her once glamorous existence is now a warning of what happens when ambition causes one to lose sight of reality. Her life fell apart when Simon Guobadia, the guy she had thought to be her savior in shining armor, turned out to be a master of deception. Life-shaking revelations regarding Simon's past and questionable actions were made for Porsha. She had dreamed of a prosperous and loving future, but the harsh reality of her current circumstances had to be addressed. She had placed all her expectations on the wrong man, a seasoned con man with a history of legal problems, not the prince she had assumed he was. Porsha's life had been anything but smooth up until now. She'd always been drawn to the finer things in life, and her quest for a wealthy spouse had driven her to the brink of despair. Her past relationship with Dennis McKinley demonstrated her desire to settle down, even at the expense of ignoring obvious warning signs. However, her bond with Simon was very distinct. There were questions about how quickly Porsha and Simon's connection developed. A month after Simon and Fallon Guobadia's divorce, Porsha was showing off her engagement ring. When information about their covert meetings surfaced prior to Simon's divorce being finalized, their attempt to present their relationship as a whirlwind romance collapsed. A further layer of scandal was added to the already complex story with Jessica Harris's shocking admission that she had a romantic relationship with Simon at the same time as Porsha. It was becoming more and more obvious that Simon was a man who followed his own rules and crushed hearts in his path, not the devoted companion Porsha had hoped for. As further details about Simon's past emerged, Porsha's fantasy of a happily ever after marriage to her Nigerian prince started to come apart. Now, the man who had given her all the assurances in the world was revealed to be a liar with a lengthy criminal record. His immigration story was especially concerning since it exposed a decades-long habit of dishonesty. Simon was unbridled in his daring. He was deported once, but he was able to enter the country again and carry on with his fraudulent activities. He employed phony identities to influence the system and hide his criminal past, making his attempts to obtain naturalization rife with dishonesty. The unraveling of Simon's falsehoods served as a sobering reminder of what happens when one lives a life centered around deceit. His court disputes revealed a guy prepared to do whatever it took to preserve his image of respectability and fortune. However, as the truth became known, his empire started to break apart, leaving Porsha to deal with the consequences. The growing body of evidence against Simon was strengthened by the claims of tax evasion and financial mismanagement. His economic endeavors were obscured by rumors of several bankruptcies and dubious activities. The allegation that he had employed a fictitious public relations company to exaggerate his wealth was evidence of the extent to which he would go to maintain his reputation. Porsha found herself in a difficult situation as she struggled to accept the truth of her circumstances. It was possible that Simon would become the focus of an official investigation, which would put their belongings and reputations in jeopardy. People close to Porsha realized that, despite her best efforts to appear courageous, she was finding it difficult to accept the seriousness of the situation. Porsha was inconsolable, while Simon responded to the chaos in a completely different way. Seemingly unaffected by the maelstrom gathering around him, he resorted to social media to reassure his followers that everything was fine. His casual attitude towards hardship served as a sharp reminder of the facade he had put on for so long. The story of Porsha Williams and Simon Guobadia is a warning about the perils of pursuing false dreams of prosperity and pleasure as they continue to develop. The sparkling world of celebrity and glamour frequently conceals a darker reality where greed and deceit can ruin lives and crush ambitions. Porsha has an unknown voyage ahead of her, but one thing is certain: no matter how deeply something is buried, the truth will eventually come to light. Subscribe Rumor Spill for more videos.